Hello and welcome to this message from Non-Woke Religion. I am Stephen Eichler. Non-Woke Religion posts are intended to present practical religious viewpoints that have not been tainted by woke, far-left or progressive politics. Today's topic is missing fathers and what can be done to help ensure that children have the benefit of growing up with two socially contributing parents. Also, can related runaway welfare spending be brought under control humanely? This post is based on the belief that there are some important decisions that democracies cannot make that are vital for a healthy community. These decisions relate to unwise government decisions that are so popular that they are hard to revoke, even though this alternative is what is desperately needed for future community, social and spiritual health. Family well-being and cohesion is the subtopic, and the key point is that children need two parents. Many governments are driving families apart by paying them to be one-parent families. This must end, and governments should be expected to make these decisions because they must and not because it is their policy. They are expected to blame non-woke religious leaders for the changes, and these community leaders desire for the best family outcomes. These far-sighted religious people will take the heat rather than the politicians who face a priority of short-term goals. This process would start by informing solo parents that their benefit will end in 6 months, the time given to find a suitable partner, offer the children for adoption, or attain independence through employment. For many non-woke people, this is a problem, as it is hard to find appropriate non-woke and possibly religious partners. After this time, solo mothers can be given more time and be permitted to share a husband with a friend. She would form a polygynous marriage. More changes are needed, in particular tax breaks for family breadwinners and spouses, 1/4 tax reduction for each child. This includes polygynous families. The problems this addresses are bad behavior in school, youth crime, youth rebellion, and antisocial behavior. Also, failure to develop love of country and respect for elders. I should explain at this point that there will be a lot of pressure to offer children up for adoption. However, some single parents are able to maintain a job with a good income and continue without government help. The point is that many of these single-parent homes are toxic to the children and bring about negative outcomes, but not all. In general, it is better for these children to be moved into two-parent families unless the single parent can provide. Sometimes the assistance of grandparents makes all the difference. Childcare subsidies tend to be an anti-woman policy and tend to force homemakers back into the workforce even though they wish to work at home and raise their own children. This occurs unless the government money provided is transferable to other carers besides the childcare institutions, like helpful friends, grandparents, or the stay-at-home parent. The next issue is unemployment benefits. The key point is that unless people are incapacitated, they should always work to receive these benefits. It is expensive to manage this group of people who need supervision across the land. This is where churches and synagogues can assist and provide supervision and activity sign-off for many of these people. If government needs to take the overflow beyond what the religious folk can manage, it is envisaged that many arrangements can be made to assist with gardening, even commercial operations where reliable, responsible individuals can be found. It is also envisaged that farmers could make use of this pool providing the standard of beneficiary behaviour is up to scratch. The farmer would need to sign off the beneficiary and that the beneficiary did a week of honest effort, or there could be a benefit reduction. Clearly, work expectations need to be managed properly, and some job site inspections are likely to be necessary. Farmers and other businesses who manage this work fairly and reasonably would likely have the opportunity to have further work done for them. If a beneficiary worker misbehaves, perhaps by vandalising the supervisor's equipment for not giving full sign-off on a week's work, they could be sent to movable barracks on scrubland during the week. The barracks would not have electricity and would be made from insulated old shipping containers. Their meals would be brought to them by vehicles, so there would be no cooking facilities or food on the site, and portaloos would be provided. The food would typically include meat and vegetables, and after the provided meal, bread, butter and cheese would be available. There would be no catering for food preferences. However, with a doctor's certificate, food allergies and diabetes would be dealt with. There would be a water tank connected to several sinks. There would be a connected shower with gas water heating, something like a portaloo. Typically, however, they would shower when they go home, so these facilities would be limited. They would do their own washing in warm water using soap and a washboard. It would be possible to hang wet clothing in their barracks. If it is really cold, they could have LPG gas heaters with flues, but typically they would use heavy clothing and blankets to keep warm. Living would be much like pre-modern conditions, like 17th or 18th century. In particular, there would be no electronic devices permitted. There would be a small library of literary classics and religious books, but not including books that are pro-jihad. That is, wars of conquest and oppression that are not self-defense. I understand that some peaceful Muslims interpret jihad as self-defense only. Books would be signed out, and if they are damaged, there would be cost taken out of the benefit. The work would be to clear scrub and plant either garden plants or woodland plants. They would be permitted to go home on weekends. If they run away from the work site, their benefit would likely be cancelled. This approach would send a signal that antisocial behaviour is not something you want to repeat. From a family social health perspective, unemployment or solo parent welfare dependency has a negative effect on children. Idle, uninspired parents need to be able to achieve something, and that something, if nothing else is available, is the supervised tasks that qualify them for the unemployment benefit. If parents are not requiring remedial treatment, then ideally they can work while the children are at school, and at least one parent can be home at the appropriate time. You may ask what relevance non-woke Christianity has to the process of government, and in particular the area of strategic hard decisions. But Christianity and Judaism are the very root of modern democracy, liberty, and were key to bringing Britain out of the Middle Ages into much less oppressive government rule. We are experiencing slippage back in that direction as left-wing governments become ever more tyrannical, forbidding free speech and destroying the peaceful existence that we have had since the church helped us out of those bad times. Many right-wing governments are now tending to become left-wing and become woke, such as the UK Conservatives and some Liberals in Australia. The reason that this would have such a large impact is that so many governments have done such a large amount of damage over the years and got so many people dependent on handouts. The timing may need to be longer and more contingencies may be needed, but it is necessary to face this problem and deal with it. Another aspect is that the status quo is unaffordable, and because of this unwise spending, many governments face constant deficits. When these remedial and normalising policies are implemented, do not let your government recklessly waste the savings and even continue to post deficits. We hope that many other religious people and people who uphold Western values will express their agreement with this post. If this creates a grassroots movement, then political pressure could come to bear on many governments which need to receive this signal. I had wondered if it might be possible to get King Charles or some British lords and perhaps the UK Reform Party on board with this concept, as the scope is potentially wider than one country. A wider group of churches pushing this type of concept would be helpful. These are matters of better economics and better social cohesion and development. The input of non-woke church and synagogue members on these matters is needed and would be appreciated. We need to encourage our people to ensure that two-parent families are supported by our governments. That is all for today. See you again soon. Thank you and may God bless you.